Good afternoon on what is a cool, grey and overcast day. It is Friday, October the 8th. I'm back in the room Nook with a nice hot cup of tea and some parcels. So this next book I'm going to play out comes out of this. Now, I've already been into this parcel, pulled up one or two things, so let's see what's next. Done Crestfallen, already done that. And then let's have a look. Book of Contemporary Magical Places, already done that. I've done a basic unboxing. Now these are all courtesy of the Tweedmeister, Sir Paul Mitchener, whom you will know as the author of Liminal and other role-playing games. Already done an unboxing of Chill. This is the 3rd edition. I'm getting fairly low in here, so what's next? And what's next is A Far Off Land. Now this is another Fate-powered game, and it's a publisher. It's from Bennett-Burks Design. It's by Megan Bennett-Burks and Jacob Possin. A Far Off Land. You, fated one, are a beautiful lie, and so too is the world around you. There are two worlds. One is the world you were born into, the one you've taken for granted as mundane and inexplicable. The other is a far-off land where creatures of myth and magic dwell. You and your companions are fated, shape-shifted beings who are of both worlds, and the fate of both worlds rests in your hands. Far-off land includes a variety of locations, creatures, organisations, magical items, and adventure hooks to use in your games. Explore the wastes of Duat, Wonderland, the Goblin Market, the Mirrored Cities, and more. The intrigues of the Eldritch Courts and fated factions are at the heart of the game. These include the Moonin, the Hatters, the Kemet, the Destroyers, and more. Setting-specific rules include an improvisational 4 elements based on magic system, which requires the character to draw upon the power of the passions of their blood. 2 word stunts, which represent each fated character's dualistic nature, and more. A Far Off Land use Fate Core requires access to the Fate Core rules. Now, Fate is a really great role-playing system that scales very, very well. So it can handle superpower games. It can handle the mythos. It can handle gritty action or super action. It can handle basically starship combat. All of these, it really doesn't nicely scale. So I'm presuming this is basically sort of like fairly high, sort of like a mixture of fantasy and magic and so on. So essentially, in this, the player characters are fated, shape-shifting being granted the power of the gods via a magical ritual. Fated existed as dualistic beings who are as much creatures of the far-off land as they are of the mortal world. Each fated belongs to an organisation, either a fated faction or an Eldritch Court. Each group has their own agenda and fights to see their vision for the future of the two worlds to come. The two worlds are linked at specific points, colloquially known as rabbit holes or warrens. It's essentially it's possible to travel between from the mundane world to the far off land via these warrens. So there's sort of an Alice's Adventures in Wonderland kind of feel to that opening description, and it's probably much more than that. There's an element of perhaps just from the description, sort of like a bit of Oz, that kind of thing. But again, there's still more. We have let's have a look. Nice clean layout, and artwork kind of captures that dualistic nature. Slightly cartoony, I would suggest, but it's open and easy to read, as you can see. It's not compact by any means. Let's go through. It is, I'm going to say a little bit cartoony. That's basically you've got not quite elf porn there. I'm not saying, but I mean. Okay, it's a nice piece of artwork. But I think some people may find it a little misogynist. Perhaps, but again, I mean, if you turn from that and get stunts, you got a list of stunts, and the thing is, stunts are what amazing things that a player character can do in Fate. So there's stunts that are, as for example, by Eldritch Beauty, and I think probably that nicely fits the archetype of Eldritch Beauty. So two world stunts are something that only fated characters can gain. They represent a difference in ability between the character's human self and their mythic self. Every two world stunt has two versions that the character gets when they purchase the stunt. So Eldritch Beauty, peak of human beauty. Your beauty is great and you know how to use it. This gives you an advantage in social situations. Once per scene, if your appearance is relative, you create an advantage without it taking up a turn. Meaning you can take another action afterwards, and so on. Treat a normal success as if you succeeded with style. Mythic is maddening beauty. You are being of such great beauty that you drive those who look upon you mad. You can use rapport with the attack action to inflict mental stress upon a target. The target must be able to see you. Alternatively, your voice instead of your appearance is achingly beautiful, and instead your target must hear you singing or talking. And then we go on to skills. The skills says what's great about this essentially says skills. The characters use the standard fate core skills. So essentially character generation is fairly similar in both, you know. So if you've got the drive skill, great, you can drive basically cars in the mundane world, and then you'd be able to drive chariots and wagons in the far off land, but you'd need the ride skill to ride beasts of burden of all types. And then we have the various factions. Such as the healers, the menders of the two worlds, the protectors of the two worlds, and so on. And we've got a description of the relationships between essentially the protectors and the far-off humans. Then we have the destroyers, who are the arsons of reality. So, in a sense, there's also a bit of the feeling of of Mage the Ascension here too, as well, of an alternate reality with some factions trying to destroy it, some trying to keep it. Then we go into the Eldritch Courts, and courts are predominantly comprised of magical beings associated with a particular mythos. So we have the Hatters, and again there's the connection there with Wonderland. The Kemet are ancient gods, and with the basically we have the unsung chorus. The Moonin essentially who are raven folk named for Odin's one surviving raven. The Moonin of the court of which includes many beings from the Nordic tradition. So if you want to play Valkyrie, you can. And then we come on to magic, blood and passion with elemental powers. Basic descriptions of how that works, and that's we have again its elements and associated skills, and so fire is deceive, provoke, empathy and crafts. Air is athletics, law, stealth, context, and so on. So there's tying of the elements to the skills in here. We have passion magic, blood magic. Example of blood magic there. So it's quite a lot there for the player characters to get into. And then essentially we have artifacts as well, such as the butcher, basically essentially a blood-stained knife, butcher's knife, once favoured by a serial killer. Charon's airship, because he's long since given up his old riverboat. Falcon cloak, which once owned by the Yrso goddess Freya. The gun that won the West, and more. So we got in here, and then we go on to locations, describing the various places in the far off land, such as the Avalon, alley to Avalon. It's a rabbit hole inland which leads directly to the mythic land island of Avalon and the underhill of the Seelie and Unseelie courts. And we've got mirrored cities, so City of Light, City of Bells, Lemieux beside the sea. It's interesting. Forests of the Gods, and there's quite a lot. We've got an Eldritch Beast bestiary as well. Pity these aren't, not all of these are illustrated, some are. Oh, there we go. So you've got the Anko there, one page, and you've got an, there, and they've got the illustration on the other side. That doesn't quite work, but I would have pushed it out the other way. Again, the Cheshire Cat, enforcing that Wonderland feel. Elves, dwarves, true demigods, guardians of Duat, goblins, mermaids, people of stone sky, scorpion men, spirits of the forest, storms of Duat, Tengu, those who devour beauty and more. And then we've got a guide to game mastering, and there's quite a lot of secrets in here. And then we've got a section of sample characters, so they can be used as NPCs or PCs. And then you've got, that's it. There's no scenario in here, which is a little bit disappointing, but because I always like a scenario in a core rulebook, because it sort of showcases what the what the designers intended when they created the role-playing game. So that's A Far Off Land from Bennett-Burks Design. I hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, please do click that like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I appreciate you posting those, and I do take the time to read them. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to yet more unboxings in the Nook, then where you will see me with a parcel and a game or book, basically, which I can talk about to the best extent of my knowledge, for roughly 10 minutes or so, then please do click that subscribe button and join me for a nice hot cup of tea. Thanks again for watching. I'll be back again soon with another unboxing in the Nook. Bye for now.